In this video, I'm going to give you my top 5 reasons to stock up on sleeves. Let's go! Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm Santiago again with another list. This time my top 5 deck building games. So deck building is one of my favorite mechanics. It's why it's one of these first videos. There are deck building games and then there are games with deck building in them. I try to steer away from games that have deck building as part of the mechanics. If you've seen my top 10 favorite games of all time, you see a couple of the games have deck building in them, and you won't see any of them here, mainly because it's just not strong enough. The games I have on this list are going to have deck building as its core mechanic. There might have some other stuff thrown in there, but deck building is its core mechanic. It drives the game. You're going to be getting a lot of cards and really stacking up on your deck. So some of the games that you might think about when you hear deck building that won't be on the list from my top 10 are games like Lost Ruins of Arnak and Dune Imperium, Great Western Trail, Mage Knight, of course, my favorite game of all time. They all have elements of deck building. Deck building is part of it. There's so much more going on in those games. These are, I guess, what you consider the purebreds, the deck building deck builders. So let's jump in at number 5. Coming in at number 5 in the smallest box is Hero Realms with the Ruin of Thandar expansion. So Hero Realms is a deck building dueling game where you're going to be battling against another player in the 2-player game. In the solo variant, you have a little campaign that you're going to be going through. You're still going to be playing in a kind of a one-on-one scenario. This expansion comes with several baddies that you're going to be going up against and a little choose your own adventure story. So every time you play, you can choose a different route, find a different monster, or just go up against whatever villain you want to in a given game. There is a second solo expansion that I have not gotten yet that I'm sure is just as awesome. So essentially in the game, it is pretty straightforward. You're going to get new cards from the row to eventually try and knock out the adversary. So they are going to be drawing cards and doing different stuff to you based off of their cards, what they get from the row. So the color is important as far as what they're going to be doing to you. And it's really quick. You're going to take a card from the row, they go, and then your turn is going to play as usual. So it's really cool. There's several things I really like about the game. One is the art. I love the art on the cards. Some people may not like it, but I really do. I think it's visually very appealing, a very whimsical, out there, high fantasy. And then there's really some dark stuff in there as well, but I really love it. One of my favorite things is the additional packs. So when you get the game initially, if you just get the base box, you're just playing, I guess, as a generic character. But some of the packs, which I highly recommend getting, really add some flavor to the game by giving you a class. The ones you might think of: wizard, rogue, fighter, and there's a bunch more. They're going to swap out some of the cards from the game, from your starting deck, to make you more individualized, to add some asymmetry. So for example, if you're the fighter, you're going to get, I believe it's a sword and a shield. Wizard's going to get like spells or spell book and a staff, stuff like that. And then as you level up, there's a really cool leveling up system that is going to add cards, take some cards out, upgrade some other cards, and you really start to feel more powerful as you start to get some of that stuff in. You're going to get cards like artifacts or legendary weapons that you're going to add to your deck. So it's really straightforward. It's just a really fun romp. And it plays really quickly in a small package. Although I will say, even though you buy it in a small package, I've put all the cards in this box because there are a lot of them, and of course I like the sleeve. So I believe they did put out a box where you can add all of the expansions and stuff you have into one bigger box. So I may end up getting that if I get the other expansion. So as is, it's a wonderful game. Great intro in my number 5. Coming in at number 4 is the oldest game in this grouping. one of the first, I think the first deck building game I ever purchased, and that's Legendary, a Marvel deck building game by Devin Lowe and Upper Deck. Legendary Marvel puts you in the shoes of your favorite Marvel characters. So, of course, you see on the box here, you've got basically the Avengers, Captain America, Hulk, Iron Man, you got Thor, Black Widow, Spider Man. Like they are all there, especially with the expansions. And in the game, what you're doing is you're going to gather cards from a lot of the different heroes. So you're not just going to be one hero like in Marvel Champions. You're going to get cards from all the different heroes that you chose to play with. In the solo game, it's 5 different heroes that you're going to choose from, and you're gonna mix them all together and draft or purchase different cards throughout the game that are going to give you things like attack value and more recruiting value. And they might do some other stuff. Every character's deck, if you continue to get their cards, they usually synergize with each other. There's different symbols and icons that'll work with other symbols. You could play a variety of ways when it comes to the heroes that you choose. But essentially, what you're doing is you're going to be fighting against a big bad, a nemesis. I forget what the game calls it, but they are going to have their own sets of cards. There's going to be different minions, and their kind of cards that they have for that particular hero. And you're also going to have a kind of a overarching story or something that the bad guy is going to try to accomplish. So the goal of the game is to knock out the bad guy enough times before his plans go into place. Or there's a timer where your deck runs out, but in the tons of times I've played the game, that rarely ever happens. I think the flavor really comes out in the game through the artwork and all the different characters that they have in the game, the different storylines. If you're a comic book fan, I am, but I haven't really read a lot of comics. It's more of just from the movies or things that I do know of the Marvel universe. But it's all there. They have the different plots, even from the movies. Trying to get the Tesseract or the zombie uh, kind of storyline. So a couple things I really love about the game is the speed at which the game plays. You take your turn, then the bad guys have a really quick turn, and it's back to you. The combo building is really really fun. Um, Throughout the years, they've gotten a lot of expansions to the game. They've added so much. Any character you could think of is in this game. Even the more obscure ones like Squirrel Girl or Hercules, they are all in the game. So much so that there's even multiple versions of some of your favorite characters, but they're all going to be here. The way that just a clever design of how these different cards will combo together to work in really cool ways. Every character has a super card. It's usually the most expensive card in that deck, but if you get that, those are usually really powerful cards. But it's super satisfying to really build up. You feel yourself and your team getting really strong, and it's really fun to fight the minions and fight the big bad. This is as pure a deck builder because it came out a while back. It doesn't have too much thrown in there aside from the deck building itself. You have the row of enemies that go through kind of the offer and they move off, and they'll do different things if they fall off the edge of the board. It was hard for me not to include this game as I've played it so much. I think the only negative I'll say is that there's maybe too much out there. You might get overwhelmed when you go look at what's out there and available. But my recommendation is get the base box, get the Dark City expansion, and then just look around for some of the smaller expansions that you would like. For example, the Spider-Man box or Thor, Guardians of the Galaxy, and the Fantastic Four. I think those are some that are really cool that add some things that don't change the game up too much. So that is my number 4. In at number 3, we're going from the old to the newest, and that is Mistborn, the deck building game by John D. Clare and Brotherwise Games. In Mistborn, the deck building game, you might have guessed that you're going to play as one of the Mistborn, one of the heroes. There are a couple that come in the box. I haven't read the books, but I do know that everything from here is absolutely inspired by the books. So you're going to play as one of the heroes. and you're going to go up against the Lord Ruler to try and take him out to win the game. You have a really cool board in front of you that helps keep track of the rounds and your kind of your level, or your training is what they call it in the game. You have different missions that you have every game that are going to be different. So they add a lot of things in the game that make it different every time you play. You have a big deck of cards that you're going to be trying to add to your deck as the game goes on. There's a variety in all the different colors that represent the different metals in the game. And every time you play, or at least every time I've played, I tend to get a different strategy, go for different colors. Depends on what the missions are. So every time you play it, it's very tactical in that way. You might come in with a strategy and have to change it based off of what's going on in the game. One of my favorite things about this and the twist that it adds is the use of the metals in the game. So in a lot of deck builders, you will have cards that you might recruit, and they might give you, one or two resources like attack or recruiting or something like that. They might combo off of all the cards because of colors. In Mistborn, there are so many ways to use every card because of that whole metal thing. You have, a regular version of the card. You have like a super powered version of the card. You have ways that you can use that card to pay for other cards to do things. It's really fun puzzle. It's a really fun puzzle every time you get your hand of cards and decide what you want to do throughout the game. The addition of having allies and your hero to the game gives you even more strategic, opportunities to combo stuff together. So, yeah, it really works well and is very fast as well, which I really appreciate. The AI turn is just a flip of a card. It does a thing where it's going to progress its sort of mission that it's trying to accomplish, or attack you. It'll throw more minions out there to fight you. It's really, really fun, and I'm sure for any fan of the actual Mistborn books, they really love it. I really enjoy it. It jumped up because this one just came out this year, or in the last couple months, and it's going to be staying in my collection for a long time because I absolutely love it. As far as the negatives go, I have one little nitpick, and that is some of the components could have been better, like the tokens themselves. But even that is a nitpick because the overall production is great. The cards are great. It gives you that little player board. You've got dials for your, hit points and everything. It's absolutely wonderful. I would highly suggest you checking this out, and it comes in at like 45, $50, depending on where you get it. So yeah, absolutely love it. That is my number three, Mistborn, the deck building game. And just missing the number one spot, coming in at number two. I'm coming in from the left this time. This is Clank in Space. Game by Paul Denon, brought to you by Direwolf and Renegade Games, a great company that pumps out a lot of fantastic games. So Clank in Space is in a series of games, the Clank games. There's Clank, the original, Clank in Space, Clank Catacombs, and then there's also Clank Acquisitions Incorporated, kind of the legacy version of it. I've played all of them, and the first three can be played solo. This is the one I've stuck with because of the difference in theme. I have tons of fantasy themed games, and I have a fantasy deck building game, and I might have another that pops up on this list. But anyway, I wanted to keep this one because of the changes it made from the first Clank. So the first Clank had you delving into a dungeon, and the overall theme of all of the Clank games is that you're going into a dungeon, or in this case, a ship, to try and get as much treasure as you can and get out. You're scoring points for all kinds of things, though, for the other artifacts that you might pick up. But you could also score points in a variety of other ways, which again is what they added. There's a little shop that you can run into while you're going through the ship. Some of the cards will score different points. So there's a couple different ways. You do have to survive. The solo mode, though, what I really love about this is they went the extra mile for this game. And when you play solo, there's a free app that you download on your phone, or your computer, wherever you want to add the app, and it's going to give you not only the regular gameplay, but it's going to give you kind of missions as you're playing through, and a little bit of a story. The story's not fantastic. It's okay, but it's just really cool to me that they went that extra mile for the solo experience. and it makes it even better because there's an additional challenge. It'd be kind of weird just playing through by yourself. If it was some AI, I don't know how they would have really implemented that into the game. So the solo game adds some things, some mini missions that you're going to have to do. It might take some cards away from you or resources, or have you go a different route or close different pathways as you're playing the game. So I just, when I first played it, I fell in love with it, with that idea that they added that. So the other part about this game that I really love, and it sets it apart from the at least the first Clank. The first Clank had just a stationary board. You would play that the same way. In Clank in Space, you have different modules, which are different areas of the ship that you're going to use before you start a game. It's going to have you set up and use the different modules. If you get expansions, they add those, and it just gives you much more variety. You go into every game fresh, not knowing which way you're going to go, because the cards that come out and the things that game's going to have you do is going to change, which route you go. And it really just livens it up. Every time you play is going to be a new experience with the same game that you love. The deck building is really cool. The combos that you're going to, want to implement are going to be there, and all the stuff you love about any of the Clank games. Dealing with the Clank itself, and the flavor and the humor that comes out in the games really makes this one worthwhile. I would definitely recommend checking it out. Clank in Space, Clank Catacombs. I have not played that solo, so I can't speak to the solo experience for that game. It might make my list. I've loved the multiplayer game, so I'm not sure how that changes. I'm sure they would just use the app just like they did here, but for my money, Clank in Space, I would wholeheartedly recommend if you want to check it out. And I really love it. That's why it's my number two. Coming in at number one is an all timer for me, a game that I had a previous version of, and they came out with a new version. And I wasn't sure about it until I learned that they were adding a solo mode, which is a little expansion that comes separately that you'd have to get. But if you're looking into it, I'm talking about Thunderstone Quest by Mike Elliott, put out by AEG. And this beast of a game, so you can see the size of the box, is a fantasy deck building game, dungeon crawl. So that could possibly make it on that list as well. What you're doing in this game is you're going to play as kind of an adventurer leader. You're going to recruit new adventurers, squires, to start off in your deck. You're going to level them up to become, wizards, fighters of all different kinds. They have a lot of unique flavor with the characters that they have in the game, and you're going to load up either going into town or go into the dungeon to fight monsters. Every time you play, you're going to have a big bad at the end of the dungeon, where you got to make your way through several rooms in order to get there. So when you defeat those monsters as you go, if you defeat them, they'll give you rewards in the form of more money, or bread, or magic, different things that they'll give you to go back, reload, get some new characters, level some of your characters up, because you'll get experience from fighting monsters as well, and go back and do it all over again. It's a really fun rotation. One of the things about this game, though, and just like the other versions before it, I had Thunderstone Advance, and I had all the expansions for it. It comes with so much. They did the same here, except they have smaller boxes, and this box can fit. At this point, it fits everything that I've gotten, and I think I've gotten like 6 expansions for it. But that adds so much variety to the game, which is one of my big positives for this game. Is that no two games are alike, because you're going to have different characters that you're going to use every game, which you're only using 4 or 5, I believe. You're going to have different weapons, different spells, different items. You can play randomly, or you can play with a setup that has specific combos that will work. But if you really want to give yourself a challenge, you just randomize it and just go from there. The different monsters sets that you can fight up against, and the different baddies. I'm not sure what the math is on the number of combos that they have in this game, but it's absolutely fun. I think the only negative I'd have about the game is setting it up, because it can be a bear. But once you're playing, it is absolutely worth it. I'm sure I'll throw a screenshot on here of the board. There's lots of tokens and cards and tiles for the different locations. I will say, even with that negative, it's still worthwhile as far as the play is concerned. And I would venture to say, and I would go out to the length of saying, if there's only one deck building game you want to have in your collection, if you don't have a lot of room, then let this be the one. If you're a fan of fantasy and deck building, this one has taken all that it's learned from its previous versions and other deck building games and has just improved upon the design. This is actually the third version of the game. They have Thunderstone, Thunderstone Advance, and then now Thunderstone Quest. So this one is going to stay in my collection for a long, long time. I've got a lot of nostalgia. I don't remember if I had purchased this or Legendary first, but those are two of my older games in my collection from when I got back into the hobby or into the hobby, over a decade ago. So that is the list. I hope you found something that would intrigue you or that you might like or you want to add to your collection. Feel free to comment down below on one of your favorite solo deck building games because there are others out there. There's some that didn't make the top 5 that I'm sure I'll cover. But leave it down below. Thank you for watching, everybody, and y'all have a wonderful, blessed day. Thanks.